All right, 24, Naomi Erlinger. What were we supposed to think? Okay, hold on. Let's review real quick. It's been several days. So we ended on Mr. Kosigi. He came back to find all the money spent, right? Donated to charity, checks bounced, things like that. And then he says, I always had this idea about how the students picked their 8th grade president, but I chose to look away. And by looking away, it's like I gave my stamp of approval on it. Like, yeah, it's fine, sure, nominate the biggest idiot or whatever they, do. And he said, I just never thought it would blow up in my face. And it did with the money. Okay, Naomi. What were we supposed to think? First, Cap gets crushed by the entire football team, and the coaches practically have to carry him to the nurse. 3 hours later, he gets decked by Daryl Pennyfield. I am never speaking to him again. Next thing you know, he's being taken away by ambulance. I hadn't seen him since. So we know where he went. The kids don't. Okay, right? They don't know who was in the ambulance. We know as the reader. Okay, for the first couple of days, nobody was surprised that Cap was absent from school. He was hurting. Who wouldn't be? Then the weekend. The Condors game on Saturday. Well, who would blame him for blowing off that event after what the team did for him? To him. Lena only went because she's a cheerleader, and she said it was the lousiest turnout she'd ever seen for a Condors-Raiders matchup. C. Average and Rhinecliff battled to a 3-3 tie, in case you're one of the few who cares. Serves those jerks right. Anyway, I figured I'd catch Cap on Monday. Wrong. And by Tuesday, I was getting worried. It was almost a full week since anybody had laid eyes on the 8th grade president. Okay, I was extra upset because Cap was extra special to me, but everyone was talking about it. You'd see a bunch of kids huddled in the hall, and you didn't have to eavesdrop to figure out the topic of conversation. Where was Cap? Why hadn't he come back? Could he be really hurt? The custodians were still trying to scrub his blood off of the terrazzo in the corridor when the big punch had been thrown. He must have been in bad shape. What else would keep him away from what was brewing between the two of us? To be continued. I meant that. This wasn't another shallow middle school crush like the one I had on Zach. This was a relationship. And besides, the Halloween dance was on Saturday night. Cap had to realize that we could never pull it off without him. When I asked Mrs. Vogel, my homeroom teacher, she replied, I don't think Cap Anderson is a student here anymore. What? She might as well have told me that the school was slated for demolition with all of us inside of it. Of course he's a student. He's the 8th grade president. She looked uncomfortable. I don't want to argue with you, Naomi. I've told you what I know. I'm going to ask Mr. Kosigi, I stormed. Who do you think told me? She said, not unkindly. Mr. Kosigi held an emergency staff meeting to bring all the teachers up to speed. I don't recommend that you mention Cap's name to him. He gets very emotional on the subject. But the dance is Saturday night. Who's going to run it if Cap isn't here? She wouldn't look me in the eye. The announcement's going to be made at lunch. The dance has been canceled. I felt like I had been hit in the stomach with a 2x4. You can't be serious. She was serious enough to kick me out of the room. By the time I staggered into the hall, the first of the notices was being posted. Due to unfortunate circumstances, the Halloween dance has been called off. As you can imagine, the chaos was rising. There was only one middle school in Claveridge. Our neighbors had all gone here, our older brothers and sisters. A lot of our parents had attended C. Average. There had always been a Halloween dance. They can't cancel the dance, wailed Tiffany Peterson. It's a tradition. They can and they did, Lena said darkly. Kosigi's such a jerk. He spends the week partying at some fancy convention and then comes home to pull the plug on anybody else having fun. But it's our trademark, Tiffany persisted. The elementaries have holiday pageants, the high school has homecoming. Halloween is our thing. How can Mr. Kosigi do this to us? Zach put his 2 cents in. Kosigi isn't the problem. Since when do teachers have much to say about what goes on in this place? You're ignoring the obvious. The dance got canceled because Cap screwed up somehow. How do you figure that? Asked Lena. The details are all set, and Cap isn't even here. Exactly, Zach agreed. It's his party. Where is he? I jumped on that so fast the wind should have knocked him over. Where is he? It was your precious football team that tried to put him through the crust of the earth. And don't forget the punch that leveled him was meant for you. He shrugged. It's not my fault Penfield's gone over the edge. Nothing's ever your fault, I snarled at him. When you couldn't use Cap as your clown, you tried to use him as your crash test dummy. I've had it up to here with you, Zach Powers. You and I are through. As rattled as I was, I took some satisfaction in the expression of total shock on his face. I laid it on even thicker. Did it ever occur to you that the unfortunate circumstances might not just be a lame excuse? What if it means, well, what could it mean? No one had the guts to say it, but it was in everybody's thoughts. Stone-faced Mr. Kosicki couldn't hear Cap's name because it made him too emotional. What unfortunate circumstances could cause that? Add in the fact that Cap had dropped off the face of the earth? Let's get to the bottom of this, Lena decided. Good old Lena. She was a tough nut, but she could be so sensible sometimes. Plus, she had tons of connections, and everybody seemed to owe her a favor. Phil Ruiz helped out around the office, so Lena made it his job to get into student records and pull Cap's file. He snuck the folder out in the kangaroo pocket of his hooded sweatshirt and showed it to us in the stairwell by the gym. This is what it contained. Nothing. No papers, no grades, no test scores, not so much as an index card. How is it possible to have an empty file? Lena demanded. It isn't, Phil told her. It should have transcripts, transfer forms from his old school, and emergency contact information. That's what we need, I exploded. We have to contact him. This is an emergency. Don't worry, Lena said darkly. Somebody must have his address. I rode the same bus as Cap, but my stop was before his, so I had no idea where he got off. We couldn't find anyone who knew which house was his. Then at last, a breakthrough. Olivia Weintraub had a brother who had once dated a girl named Sophie Donnelly. He had talked about a long-haired 60s type staying with the Donnellys. It could only have been Cap. Lena and I took Cap's bus after school and found the right house. A well-kept split level on a quiet side street. Just the thought that he lived and slept here made me feel warm inside. I was positive we had the right place. This is it, Lena confirmed. 191 Rockcrest. As we marched up the walk to the front door, the window of the car parked in the driveway whispered open. A very pretty high school girl leaned out and called, "Something I can do for you?" "Does Cap Anderson live here?" I said anxiously. "No," and she started to roll the window up again. The passenger door opened and an older lady got out. "You girls are too late. Cap is no longer at this address." You could hear that she was choosing her words carefully. "Well," Lena persisted, "can you tell us where he is now?" "I'm afraid that's not possible." "But why?" I wailed. "We really need to talk to him." The daughter lowered her window again. "My driving test is the day after tomorrow. We're busy." "Sorry, girls," the mother added. "I'm sure you're just friends with the best of intentions, but a lot of things have happened that I'm not at liberty to talk about." She got back inside and shut the door. "Can you just give us his phone number?" I begged. The teenager gave me an odd smile. "Where he is, they don't have a phone." They drove away, leaving us standing there on their doorstep, stunned. Finally, Lena spoke, her voice subdued. "I think I might know why we can't find Cap." Meltdown. That is the only word to describe my state of mind. For months, I had been wandering the desert, throwing myself at that undeserving creep, Zach. Now, finally, I understood my true feelings, and it was too late. Up until that moment, no one had dared to speak the awful words out loud, but I couldn't keep them bottled inside me any longer. What if he's dead? Okay, your chapter 24 question, it says, to kids at Claveridge, it seems as though Cap has just disappeared. What do they suspect may have happened to him? Fill that out. Take about 5-6 seconds. Okay, chapter 25, Zach Powers. First things first, I didn't believe it for a heartbeat. The rumors were beyond nuts. Cap's in the hospital. He's in the morgue. He's in a persistent vegetative state. He's suffering from amnesia. He's upside down in a fish tank. I had lost all respect for the intelligence level in this place. They should raffle off the Brooklyn Bridge at the next PTA fundraiser. I couldn't explain where Cap was, and frankly, I didn't care. Not only was my year in ruins, but my name was mud at C Average. Me, Zach Powers. And it was all thanks to the case of the disappearing hairball. People were nuts on the subject. I don't think I heard a single conversation on any other topic. Teachers were complaining that their students could focus on nothing else. I figured most of the kids were just bummed that the dance had been canceled. No, people were genuinely worried about the hippie. What's the big deal? I said for the umpteenth time. Like so many times you can't count. That's what umpteenth means. That's a real word. So he slipped back through the same time warp he dropped out of in the first place. Naomi cut me dead with a flamethrower glare. You never liked him. You tried to make a fool out of him. It was scary how much that girl hated me now. I used to think she was kind of hot for me. Maybe I misread the signs. Yeah, I admitted. So did you. So did the whole 8th grade. But then, some of us saw the kind person Cap was, Lena put in. Some of us appreciate how devoted his heart and soul was to the school. Heart and soul? I exploded. He held a funeral for a bird. He danced on the front lawn. He played senior citizen music. The Beatles and other Grandpa Garfunkel, whatever his name is. Garfunkel, Naomi corrected icily. Simon and Garfunkel. Listen, Lena told me. Cap gave his life. He didn't, but I was fighting a losing battle. If Lena believed it, he might as well have been the lead story on CNN. Cap put his all into C Average, and for that he was struck down. If he wasn't dead, he was seriously messed up. Just because you can't find someone doesn't mean he's at death's door, I argued with at least 20 people. I can't tell you exactly where Tom Cruise is either. That doesn't make him a corpse. Talk to the wall. 1,100 kids were absolutely convinced that the 8th grade president had come to tragedy, and it was all thanks to the football team, Daryl Pennyfield, and me. I couldn't take the 3 steps in the hall without getting a dirty look from somebody. Even 6th graders felt that they had the right to come scowl in my direction. Every time I came back to my locker, there was a fresh insult scratched into the paint. Jerk, dope, or something else with the same number of letters. Has everybody gone off the deep end? I complained to Hugh in the cafeteria. When the Garretts redid their kitchen, nobody saw Alicia for like 3 weeks. Not one person thought she was dead. Yeah, but the whole school didn't watch Alicia Garrett being loaded into an ambulance, he pointed out, and the biggest party of the year wasn't canceled right after that. I scowled at him. Don't tell me you're about to join in the chorus of mourners for our dear departed Sasquatch. Of course not, he told me. I think it's a load of hooey, but I can't say I'm surprised. If this school was full of geniuses, I'd have a lot more company on the chess team. He's implying that everyone at the school is stupid. It was the ultimate barometer of my plummeting status. The only person willing to eat lunch with me was Hugh. If I could track Cap down using hippie LoJack, I wouldn't know whether to haul him back or hide out with him. Part of me just wanted to disappear. Hey, what's that? Suddenly, Hugh reached over and began rifling through my hair. I slapped his arm away. Cut it out, man. Look. He plucked a small object from behind my ear and held it in front of me. A pea-sized blob of soggy white paper. A spitball. I examined it, unbelieving. That's impossible. He was disgusted. Spitballs can travel both ways, you know. You don't have a force field around you. I stared at him, the target of more spitballs than everybody else put together. I suppose you're waiting for an apology? I'm just enjoying the front row seat for Payback Fest, he sneered. Hey, you bring a lot of it on yourself, I accused. This is Hugh. It's my fault I get picked on? From the first day of kindergarten, everything about you screamed dweeb. Your clothes, your hobbies, your vocabulary. He scowled. And you're perfect. I told the truth. Zach talking. My whole life, it's always been obvious what sports to play, what bands to listen to, what people to hang out with, as if I was born with a natural guidance system in my head, showing me how to be cool. My brow clouded. But Cap Anderson doesn't come with a book of instructions. Instead of gloating, he actually seemed to understand. For Hugh Winkleman, the whole planet didn't come with a book of instructions. He said, too bad you can't just start liking him. If he had smacked me with a brick, I couldn't have been any more stunned. How could I have missed something so obvious? Hugh, that's it, I explained. If we can't stop this hippie bandwagon, we have to find a way to jump on. Isn't it a little too late for that? He challenged. Cat may not be dead, but he's definitely gone. We might be able to work that to our advantage. Come on. I strode out of the lunchroom and across the hall to the library. He wolfed down what was left of his sandwich and followed. I logged on to a computer, pounded the keyboard for a few moments, and swiveled the screen toward him. His eyes widened as he read. A tribute to Cap Anderson. Pay your respects to the best 8th grade president ever. Saturday, 7 p.m. The time of the Halloween dance he never got to give us. In the parking lot. Do not show to any teachers. He tried to say something and began to choke on a mouthful of peanut butter and jelly. I pounded him on the back, cackling with glee. Zach Powers was down but not out. Load the paper tray. We've got a lot of printing to do.